Good morning, East Queen Street Baptist Church and East Queen Street Baptist Youth Choristers. This is indeed a pleasure to be able to speak to you guys or converse with you remotely. I really regret not being able to attend the reunion at this time due to so many interesting, fascinating developments, such as the impending arrival of another grandchild, Marjorie and myself's fifth, today, the day after our Thanksgiving. So you'll pardon me if I sound a little hyped up, and I have a few missteps along the way. But I just wanted to greet all of you. I can visualize everybody as I sit here, and I'm very fortunate to have our youngest daughter, Marguerite, asking me some questions, because I didn't feel comfortable just sitting and narrating anything like, a news anchor. That's not me. Okay, so I hand it over to Marguerite.
Good, let's do it. Hi, everyone. So the first question I'm going to ask Mr. Hemmings is, what is his specific history with the youth choir and with the youth choir directors that led him?
Well, I started singing with the youth choir at the time, back in 1961, as a teenager. And at that time, we were under the tutelage of Mr. Bennett Stevenson, a very animated, a very knowledgeable, a very competent choir director. And I'm telling you, we had a tremendous amount of fun singing every third Sunday, and we enjoyed the fellowship with each other. And we also went on a lot of rural trips on Sunday afternoons to fundraise for various churches on a non-denominational basis. But on the whole, I'd say that's where my grooming took place, to assume larger responsibilities later on at the East Queen Street Baptist Church. So basically, I sang bass, and everyone seemed to have enjoyed having the bass line of the youth choir at the time participate in big functions. Whenever we were singing, JJ would let us join the senior choir. I remember us singing Zadok the Priest, and you can talk to JJ about this. His recollection of it will be probably even sharper than mine. Okay, but that's basically when I started developing an interest in being with the youth, and graduating to being choir director of the youth choir.
Perfect. So let's talk more about that then. What was it like when you became the youth choir director of East Queen Street Baptist? And tell us a little bit about what you did day to day. What were some of the responsibilities?
Well, I had migrated with a family to Canada back in 1971. Actually, I had gone to Canada in 1970 to study public administration, and Marjorie and I got married back in 1971, and we moved to Canada, and we stayed there for 6 years. We returned to Jamaica in 1976, and almost immediately I was asked to assume the reins of leadership with the youth choir at the time. This was slightly, perhaps, before you guys who are looking at this video, but this was slightly before your time. But again, we really took on the mission very seriously, because youth are an integral part of any church. And I took it very seriously to make sure that on every occasion it was not so much a performance as an invitation to our congregation to worship and to be encouraged, to be consoled, and to be uplifted by our music.
Nice. Speaking of music, what about some of your favorite songs?
Oh, those are so many. I remember with you guys who are watching this, and by this I include, Michelle, Faith, Carmen, Claudette, June, so many people, the sopranos, Yvonne, and of course the Lulu in the alto line, the men, Gary as tenor, and Cortland as bass, and of course our illustrious accompanist at the time, Milton Marriott, Liz, of course, and we sang pretty much every genre of music. My favorite was when we did our concerts, our annual concert, was when we had our folk songs. Right? The religious songs, of course, were very exciting too. I remember us doing Gordon Young's Hallelujah, 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 and seeing how animated you guys were when we did that. Of course, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, and non nobis domine. But I strictly remember, definitely remember us doing those folk songs like Before Me Get Married, Don't Go With Uncle Benji, I went rafting on the Rio Grande, oh, 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 me and me Uncle Benji, oh, oh. I hear, the rest,
Nice.
rafting over and all that. And it ended up with, don't go with Uncle Benji, oh, oh. So we had a lot of fun. But the main part of our duties were really participating in the worship and leading the worship, basically, in music on the third Sunday of every month. And we did that religiously. And that was on the pastorate of Dr. Horace Russell. And as I said before, we had Mr. Milton Marriott as our accompanist.
Good. So what comes to mind when you reminisce back on being youth choir director?
You know what? I recall very clearly that since I had several responsibilities as choir director, not only of the youth choir, but for the senior choir and for the men's fraternal, because Reverend J.J. Williams was pastoring out in St. Thomas, so he wasn't available at the time to do the men's fraternal or the senior choir. He assisted from time to time when he was in town, when we had our big occasions. But I was mainly responsible for those three choirs. And I recall the youth choristers, you guys, waiting until we had finished rehearsals with the senior choir. This was on a Friday. We would start at 6:30, and we always hoped to end at about 7:30. When hopefully the youth choir would start rehearsing. A lot of times, however, especially because the senior choir sang so often every Sunday, it would end up that I wouldn't be able to start rehearsal officially with the youth choir until about 8 o'clock. And what I remember very fondly, and this has impressed me so much over the years, is the level of dedication, the level of commitment that you young people exercised in waiting and not showing any animosity, not grumbling, not ranting and raving when I would come across and we would officially start practice. Sometimes Milton, our accompanist, would start, and Michelle, your current director, they were really the ultimate supporters, that anybody could desire. They helped me out a lot in terms of keeping our choir together and keeping our focus on the mission that we had to perform. But I want to thank you guys for being so patient during pretty much 10 years from 1976 to 86 of just waiting until I did my other duties. I looked at it and I was away from my home on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, because we would have the male chorus rehearsal on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Mondays and Thursdays for the frats too, and then on Fridays it would be the senior choir and the youth choir. So I wanted to just personally thank you for being so patient. But my special memories, however, go to speak to the kind of rehearsals we had. We really were a bunch of characters. And as young people, I really appreciated how you guys conducted yourselves, and as young adults, a lot of times, for sure, there was a lot of humor. I remember John of blessed memory, his zingers, that he would, you'd hear his deep bass voice echoing forth after, somebody had said something that was probably a little, the choir didn't agree with what they were saying. Faith was like the hammer. She would say, "Okay, guys, let's get this together now. It's time we have this concert coming up. We have to do this. Let's go." And Elizabeth, too, helped a lot. Now, Michelle was sort of really more... she was more reticent at the time. She was quieter. I am certain Michelle isn't as quiet as she was back then now. Lorraine, same thing. But they were stalwarts. And everyone in that choir, whenever we said, "Okay, it's time," we all pulled together. And that made it extremely special for me. When I came from the rehearsal, the senior choir rehearsal, to the youth choir rehearsal, you guys gave me a lift that I really needed, because a lot of times I was dead tired, which you might not have noticed, but you really lifted my spirits, and I want to thank you for that, and really thank you for your dedication and commitment over all those years of doing what the Lord placed us there to do.